Hey, this video is going to talk about factoring trinomials and then solving. So just really quickly, to kind of give a little bit of review, this right here is a quadratic function. Okay, it looks like this, and you don't have to copy this down. I'm just going to kind of show you real quick. It kind of looks something like this. Okay, and when we're solving for a quadratic function, what we're doing is we're trying to find the x-intercepts or the zeros. So like this point right here and this point right here. Okay, one of the ways to do this is to factor. So not everything is factorable, but the ones that are factorable are the nice ones because that means we don't have to do too many calculations like using quadratic formula or computing the square or something insane like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to factor and then how to solve. In other words, how to find these two little points here. Okay, and for the sake of this video, we're only going to be finding the solutions. We're not going to actually graph them quite yet. This will get us ready for the next lesson, okay, in about a couple weeks. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this example right here. Okay, we have x squared minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. When we're factoring, we typically have two sets of parentheses. We have an x, or whatever the variable is in each one. And we have two numbers that multiply to this coefficient, the c, where this is our c, and add or subtract to the b. So this is the b right here. Okay, a is not important in this case. If we get to the other level of factoring, we'll talk about that one later. Okay, but just for the sake of knowledge, a would be 1 here. Okay, so we wanted to add up to b, so it needs to add to b and multiply to c. Now there's a lot of different ways to do this. I just like to kind of make a list of all the factors of c and then just pair them up. So in this case, my c is -3. So factors of -3 could be -1 times 3. They could be +1 times -3, and that's about it. Okay, so from these two pairs, I want them to add up to -2. So I want these to add up to -2. Let's see, -1 plus 3, that's going to give me +2. So that one's out. 1 plus -3 will give me -2, which tells me that this right here is my pair. So I'm going to go ahead and do +1, because that's what this 1 implies, positive, and -3. And this right here is my factored form. So this is the factored form for this equation here. Okay, if I'm trying to solve this, well, it's kind of nice because all I have to do is take this right here and this right here and set them equal to 0. So x plus 1 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0, and I just solve. So -1 on this one, both sides, which gives me x is equal to -1. +3 for this one, which gives me x is equal to 3. So in this case, my solutions are x equals -1 and x equals 3. And if I did want to graph that, that means that on my graph, this point right here would be -1, this would be +3. Okay, let's go ahead and do another one. So here we have x squared minus 13x plus 40. 40 is our c value, okay, and -13 is the b value. And again, we're not really using a in this video yet, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, take +40 and find all the factors of 40. And then there's 1 times 40. There's -1 times -40, because remember, two negatives make a positive. There is 2 times 20, -2 times -20. 3 doesn't go in, 4 goes in 10 times, so 4 times 10, -4 times 10, and -10. 5 goes in 8 times, so 5 times 8, and then -5 times 8. So then we have 6 doesn't go in, 7 doesn't go in, 8 goes in, so 8 times 5, But again, we already have 8 times 5, so once we start repeating, we can kind of put our line and just stop there, okay? So from this list, I'm going to go ahead and try to add everything up to negative 13. So I wanted to add up to negative 13. Okay, so I'm going to go down the list. And I'm going to go a little bit faster now because I think we kind of get the concept. So this is not going to work. 2 and 20 is not going to work. 4 and 10 is not going to work. 5 and 8 could work. This would be 5 plus 8 is going to give me positive 13. But I want negative 13. So maybe let's look at this one. Negative 5 plus negative 8. That would give me negative 13. So this right here is my pair. Okay. So inside my parentheses, remember I have my x's. I'm going to go ahead and do this pair right here. So minus 5 and then minus 8. And again, this right here is my factored form. Okay. When I solve this, I take this and I take this and I set them equal to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0. X minus, oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself. X minus 8 is equal to 0. Solve them both. So in this one, I'll add 5 to both sides. X will give me 5. In this one, add 8 to both sides. So x will come out to positive 8. So that means that my roots for this one, the zeros, are x equals 5 and x equals 8. These are the solutions for this particular quadratic. Okay. So again, this right here is factored form. This is factored form here. And this over here is the solution. Okay, remember you can also do this as a solution set. So if you wanted to, you could also do those little squiggly lines, 5, 8. And that would be correct as well. Okay, let's go ahead and do a couple more. Okay, and this one we have our C to be negative 56 and our B to be negative 1. Remember there's an imaginary 1 here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and skip some steps here only because I think by now you should be kind of getting the concept. Okay, so we have our parentheses, we have our x's, and we're trying to find two numbers that will multiply, so kind of multiply to this one and add up to this one, if that makes any sense. So I know that 7 times 8 is 56, and I know that 7 minus 8 would give me negative 1. So over here, 7 and 8, if I multiply them, gives me 56. I want a negative 1, so if I make this one negative and this one positive, I can get that negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and do plus 7 minus 8. And if you're not that good at your multiplications, by all means, you can go ahead and do the list just like I did for the other ones. But otherwise, you can just come up with the numbers right away. Okay. Then I solve. So just like before, x plus 7 equals 0. X minus 8 is equal to 0. Subtract 7 from both sides on this equation. So x comes out to negative 7. In this case, add 8 to both sides. So x comes out to positive 8. Okay. So my solutions for this one are x equals negative 7 and x equals positive 8. So again, if you want to do that solution set way, negative 7, 8, curly brace. Okay. And that's it. Solution. And then this is the factored form. This piece right here. Okay. All right, let's do one more, maybe two. Okay, so this one right here, I changed it just a little bit. If you notice, everything so far has been in this format. It has been ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, which we should know by now is standard form. Okay, so for us to be able to factor, we do have to have it in standard form. So in this case, we do not have standard forms. We're going to have to move some items first. Typically, we want to leave the x squared positive, so this one's good. We're going to leave that one like that. I'm going to move this piece and this piece that way. Okay, now remember that when we move anything, the signs will change. So when I rewrite this, I will have x squared plus 11x plus 18, and then equal to 0. And it's equal to 0 because since I moved everything away from this side, we're left with nothing, so we're left with 0, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and factor now, just like before. Now it's just like the same what we've been doing in this video so far. So x and x, factors of 18, so this is my C, that will add up to 11, this is the B. Well, I know that 9 times 2 is 18, and 9 plus 2 is 11. So let's just go ahead and put it right away. Plus 2 plus 9, okay? And again, equal to 0. Because again, 2 times 9 is 18, and 2 plus 9 is 11, so this works, okay? So this is the factored form. And now we're going to solve. By now, you've probably noticed the pattern for solving is just the opposite. So like in this one, x plus 2 equals 0, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, which just leaves me with negative 2, okay, which is the opposite of the factor, okay. So this one's going to be x equals negative 9. And once you start getting really good at these, you see these patterns and it just kind of leaves it for less work. So the solution for this one is negative 2 comma negative 9. Order doesn't matter, okay? Let's do one more. Another ugly looking one. We're going to go ahead and rearrange this. Again, we want to leave the x squared positive, so that means we have to take these two things and move them over, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do 0 is equal to x squared. So I start with my x squared right here. And I'm going to move both of these over. I'm going to go ahead and put the 5x first, only because that's the order we usually have it in. So if I move this positive 5x, it becomes minus 5x. That becomes positive 6. Okay, and now I can go ahead and try to factor this. So let's put our parentheses. Notice that I did put the 0 backwards. It doesn't really make a difference. It's the same thing, okay? So x and x. Let's see, we want factors of 6 that are going to add up to negative 5. So this one's always a tricky one. I'm going to go ahead and write it down because people always mistake this one. I know that 1 times 6 is 6. I know that negative 1 times negative 6 is positive 6. I also know that 2 times 3 is 6, and negative 2 times negative 3 is also 6. So the mistake people want to do for this one is they want to choose one of these two because they know that 6 minus 1 is 5 somehow. But remember that our 6 is positive, so that means that they both have to be positive or they both have to be negative. And if that's the case, we can't choose 1 and 6. So we're going to have to choose one of these two. Okay, so this is out because 1 plus 6 would be 7. This one would be negative 7. 2 plus 3 would be equal to 5. Negative 2 plus negative 3 would be negative 5. So that means that this right here is our pair that we're looking for. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that. So x minus 2, x minus 3. This is our factored form. Okay, and now for the solution, we're going to just do the opposite. So x is equal to 2 and x is equal to 3. And that's it. Okay, so our solution for this one would be curly brace 2 comma 3. And that's it. That's the end of this video.